Hey guys, welcome back to Out of Pocket Radio. If you are new, welcome. So, Nick Cannon is currently trending on Twitter, and I just want to elaborate and just talk about what he's trying to say. So, if you do not know why he's trending, stay tuned for this next clip. Now, before we get into this, I just want to make a quick disclaimer. I am far from racist and I am not anti Semitic. However, I do believe in the truth and I want the truth to be out there. Now, let's get started.
To what it really is, then, when we talk about the power of melanated people, when we talk about who we really are as guys, and understanding that our melanin is so powerful and it connects us in a way that the reason why they fear black, the reason why they fear is because the lack that they have of it. So then when you see what Dr. Francis C. Welsing talked about is that fear in that
just genetic annihilation,
deficiency of when you have a person that has the lack of pigment, the lack of melanin, that they know that they will be annihilated. So therefore, however they got the power, they have the lack of compassion. That melanin comes with compassion. Melanin comes with soul. That we call it soul. We soul brothers and sisters. That's the melanin that connects us. So the people that don't have it are a little, and I'm gonna say this carefully, are a little less, and where the term actually comes from, because I'm bringing it all the way back around to Minister Farrakhan, to where they may not have the compassion or the when they were sent to the mountains of Caucasus, when they didn't have the power of the sun, that the sun then started to deteriorate them. So then they're acting out of fear, they're acting out of low self-esteem, they're acting out of a deficiency. So therefore, the only way that they can act is evil. The only way they have to rob, steal, rape, kill, and
fight or flight,
in order to survive.
Exactly.
So then these people who didn't have what we had, and when I say we, I speak of the melanated people.
Right.
They had to be savages. They had to be barbaric. Because they're in these Nordic mountains. They're in these rough, torrential environments. So they're acting as animals.
Right.
So they're the ones that are actually closer to animals. They're the ones that are actually the true savages. And then they built up such this I don't want to say warrior, but they built up such this conquering barbaric mentality.
Okay, so we're going to talk about everything that he's trying to say. We're going to talk about the melanin part first. I'm going to show you guys a clip from Hidden Colors that is directed by Tariq Nasheed. If you do not know what Hidden Colors is, you should definitely check it out.
The concept of melanin is it is black in its nature, and we find it in the cosmos, we find it in the heavens, we find it in water, we find it in land, we find it in everything that exists.
Scholars and scientists have been having conferences about melanin, to my awareness, at least since the 1920s. These scientists said that the pineal gland, they refer to the pineal gland as a vestigial organ, that is a calcified gland within the body that serves no purpose, as if the creator would create something that you didn't need. And it was only after the Vietnam War, in the late 60s and early 70s, that they began to rewrite their interpretation of the pineal gland. The reason for that was that a large number of African Americans fought and died during the Vietnam War. And whenever a soldier dies, there's an autopsy that's performed before their body is sent back to Dover Air Force Base. And what these physicians discovered, is that when they performed the autopsies, the 75 to 80% of the African American soldiers had a large functioning pineal gland. The pineal gland is normally about the size of your thumb. So it was not a vestigial organ in 70 to 80% of African Americans, but it is a calcified organ in 75 to 80% of people with European ancestry. So they began to reevaluate the pineal gland.
So this is a complex molecule. It's found in the brain. It's found in your adrenal glands. It's a powerful free radical scavenger. In other words, it helps the body prevent this oxidation, so it's an antioxidant. Melanin may play a much bigger role than just absorbing all this radiation, and when you get it into your body, it actually has a major effect on your immune system. It protects genes and it actually repairs broken DNA. Isn't that wonderful? Something breaks down because you're exposed to chemicals or radiation. Think of the people of Japan right now in 2011 who are suffering from huge amounts of radiation. What could we do to help them prevent cancer developing? Well, you need a DNA repairer, and that's what melanin does. It exists in many other tissues, as I mentioned. It's actually a very important molecule in any woman who's having a baby, because the fetus has all this melanin in it.
The sperm of the male and the egg of the woman, they're both layered with melanin, so that when the sperm penetrates the egg, there is a melanin explosion. And that melanin helps to formulate the fetus within that egg. And that fetus is literally coated with the melanin substance. And that melanin substance then goes on to form the brain and the central nervous system. So every human being begins with a melanin explosion.
In steering things in the body, in the whole regulatory system, melanin's role in embryological organization, that's in the baby's organization, and tissue repair and tissue regeneration, may be connected to the major role that it plays to balance the body. That's called homeostasis. Here's a picture of a baby at 35 days of pregnancy, and this is the eye of an embryo. Notice that the eye is pure melanin. That's an amazing picture, isn't it? To see all this melanin is inside, and when the embryo first forms, there is what's called the dark streak. It's all melanin.
It is the dynamic, the primary dynamic in every part of the cell. It's a primary dynamic in the core of the human being as well as to the surface of the human being. Its intelligence is responsible for the forming of the nervous system. Every part of the nervous system has these little black dots all through it, which essentially carry information.
The body is actually a communication system where everything is connected to everything else, and it works through light. It works through light. It's called biophotons. And in this communication system, cells have connections to other cells called integrins, and electrons and light flows between cells. So it's like a supercomputer. In fact, there's somebody even studying whether energy is directly absorbed from the melanin in your skin and transformed into energy in your body.
So in other words, darkness is faster than the speed of light. Now he said something that really stood out to me. I'm just going to play this clip for you guys.
When we talk about who we really are as guys, and understanding that our melanin is so powerful and it connects us in a way that the reason why they fear black, the reason why they fear is because the lack that they have of it. So then when you see what, Dr. Francis C. Welsland talked about, is that fear in that
just genetic annihilation,
that deficiency of when you have a person that has the lack of pigment, the lack of melanin, that they know that they will be annihilated. So therefore, however they got the power, they have the lack of compassion that melanin.
Now this ties into the Jews being actually black, which I agree 100%. So white people and black people simply have different genetic makeups. Black people, we have melanin to protect us from the sun. We have afros, so our hair can protect us from the sun. We have big nostrils, so we can take in more air. White people, they have long hair, they have beards, they're hairy to protect them from the cold. Their nostrils are so narrow, so the cold air won't freeze up their brain. So yeah, the Jews started off black but ended up white. I found these threads, these articles online, and it just proves my point, honestly. It just really proves my point, but I'm gonna read it to you guys. The skin cancer rate in Israel is among the highest in the world. The Israel Cancer Association reported yesterday, at the end of 2000, there were 3,631 skin cancer patients in Israel, and around 200 die every year from the disease. In fact, the number of people being diagnosed with melanoma, the deadliest form of skin cancer, has skyrocketed over the 3 past decades, and Jews are at a higher risk than most. It seems we just can't kick our sun worshipping. Maybe that's because as studies have shown, sun exposure can trigger the release of those pleasant feeling endorphins, and tanning can be addictive. The statistics about skin cancer should be sobering. Most melanomas and some 90% of non-melanoma skin cancers are associated with exposure to the sun and dangerous ultraviolet rays. Now, it seems to me that the Jews who are there now in Israel do not belong there. They can't even handle the sun. Their skin is not made to handle the sun. Let's start there. I want you guys to leave a comment down below and let me know how you guys feel about that.
To Minister Farrakhan, to where they may not have the compassion or the when they were sent to the mountains of Caucasus, when they didn't have the power of the sun, that the sun then started to deteriorate them. So then they're acting out of fear. They're acting out of low self-esteem. They're acting out of a deficiency. So therefore, the only way that they can act is evil. The only way they have to rob, steal, rape, kill, and
fight or flight, okay,
in order to survive.
Exactly.
So then these people who didn't have what we had, and when I say we, I speak of the melanated people.
Right.
They had to be savages. They had to be barbaric. Because they're in these Nordic mountains. They're in these rough, torrential environments. So they're acting as animals.
Right.
So they're the ones that are actually closer to animals. They're the ones that are actually the true savages.
Now, when Nick Cannon speaks on the evilness within the white community, he's simply talking about the generational violence that is within the white community, from genocide, from murder, from raping. The list goes on. You know, the white community has destroyed so many cultures, not only just the black community, but so many cultures. Just because you weren't physically a part of the problem doesn't mean, you know, the history isn't embedded in your DNA. That's why it's called generational violence. The same goes for black people. We have generational hurt that we need to get over. Not get over, but so much get through. We have generational curses that we need to break and get through. Now, what I will say is Nick Cannon definitely should have kept this conversation within like his barbershop, his inner circle. Now that this conversation is out, it's definitely going to hurt his career. No way around it. So yeah, guys, that is my perspective on what Nick Cannon has to say. You know, how many celebrities have to come forward and say the same thing over and over for us to finally get it? You know, these celebrities have nothing to gain but everything to lose. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, comment down below. I want to know you guys' thoughts. And as always, thank you so much for watching Out of Pocket Radio. As always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.